The door to the private gym clicked shut behind them. It was 3 a.m. in Los Angeles, and the only two people in the building were about to engage in a conversation that would change the course of boxing history. Muhammad Ali, the former heavyweight champion still fighting to reclaim his throne, stood across from Bruce Lee, a martial artist who most of the world still saw as just an actor. What happened in the next 3 hours wasn't just a sparring session. It was a masterclass in fighting philosophy that Ali would carry with him into the most important bout of his career. And for 40 years, neither man spoke publicly about what transpired that night. This is the true story of the secret meeting between two of the greatest fighters who ever lived, and how a 135-pound martial artist taught the heavyweight champion of the world a lesson that would help him defeat the unbeatable George Foreman. It was July 1973. Muhammad Ali had recently lost to Ken Norton in a brutal fight that saw his jaw broken in the second round. Ali fought 10 more rounds with a fractured jaw before losing a split decision. The loss was devastating, not just physically but psychologically. At 31 years old, Ali was being written off by critics who said he was too old, too slow, and too damaged to ever reclaim the championship. But Ali had never been one to accept defeat quietly. He was training obsessively, desperate to prove the doubters wrong, desperate to get another shot at the title. He was in Los Angeles for a series of promotional appearances and training sessions, pushing his body harder than he ever had before. Bruce Lee was in the same city, but living in a completely different world. He had just finished filming Enter the Dragon, the movie that would make him an international superstar, though he wouldn't live to see it. Bruce was 32 years old, at the absolute peak of his physical abilities, and privately frustrated that the world saw him as an entertainer rather than a serious martial artist. The two men had met briefly once before at a boxing gym where they both trained occasionally. They'd exchanged pleasantries, professional respect, but nothing more. They existed in different universes. Ali in the world of professional boxing, sanctioned bouts, and championship belts. Bruce in the world of martial arts, philosophy, and cinema. But on this particular night in July, Bruce Lee called Muhammad Ali's hotel room at 11 p.m. "Champ, it's Bruce Lee. I know this is unusual, but I need to ask you something. Can we meet tonight? Just you and me. No cameras, no press. There's something I need to show you." Ali was intrigued. He'd heard stories about Bruce's abilities, seen some of his movies, but he'd never taken the martial artist seriously as a fighter. How could he? Bruce weighed 135 pounds soaking wet. Ali weighed 215 pounds of pure muscle. But there was something in Bruce's voice, an intensity that made Ali curious. "All right, Bruce. Where and when?" "There's a private gym in downtown LA. The owner owes me a favor. I'll have it open for us at 3 a.m. Bring a trainer if you want, but no one else. What I need to show you requires privacy." At 2:45 a.m., Muhammad Ali and Angelo Dundee pulled up to a nondescript building in downtown Los Angeles. Bruce Lee was waiting outside, wearing plain black training clothes. His expression was serious, focused in a way that made Ali's natural instinct for jokes fade away. "Thank you for coming," Bruce said. "What I'm about to share with you, I don't share with many people. But I've watched your recent fights, and I see something in you that you don't see in yourself yet." They entered the gym. It was small, old school, with a single boxing ring, heavy bags, and mirrors on every wall. Bruce had set up a camera in the corner on a tripod. "I'm recording this," Bruce said, "but only for you. This tape will be yours to keep or destroy. I just want you to be able to study it later." Ali nodded, still not entirely sure what he'd agreed to. "Here's what I know about you, Muhammad," Bruce began, his voice taking on the tone of a teacher. "You're the fastest heavyweight who ever lived. Your footwork is revolutionary. Your jab is like lightning. But you've been fighting the same way your entire career, and now that you're getting older, that style is failing you. The Norton fight proved it. You can't rely on pure speed anymore." Ali's jaw tightened. No one spoke to him like this. But something made him stay quiet and listen. "George Foreman is going to be your next opponent for the title," Bruce continued. "Everyone knows it. And George Foreman is going to knock you out if you fight him the way you've been fighting. He's too strong, too powerful, too young. Your speed won't matter because one punch from him will end you. So what are you saying? Ali asked, his voice carrying a hint of irritation. That I should quit? That I can't beat Foreman? No, Bruce said simply. I'm saying you need to learn how to fight without fighting. The phrase hung in the air. Ali had heard Bruce talk about this concept in interviews, this idea of be like water, but he'd always dismissed it as mystical nonsense, movie dialogue. Let me show you what I mean, Bruce said. Hit me. Ali laughed. Bruce, I'm not going to hit you. I'd kill you. You won't hit me, Bruce said with absolute certainty. Try. Ali looked at Angelo, who shrugged. Ali threw a lazy jab, not trying to actually connect, just going through the motion. Bruce wasn't there. He'd moved before Ali's hand left his guard, flowing to the side like water around a stone. Again, Bruce said, faster this time. Really try. Ali threw a combination jab, cross, hook, fast enough to surprise most fighters. Bruce moved through the punches like they were thrown in slow motion, his body bending, flowing, never where Ali's fist arrived. One more time, Bruce said. Full power. Don't hold back. Something competitive awakened in Ali. He threw everything he had, a five-punch combination with real bad intentions behind it. Bruce Lee moved like smoke, not just dodging, but flowing around the violence, his movements so economical, so precise that he seemed to expend no energy at all. Ali stopped, breathing hard despite only throwing a few punches. How are you doing that? I'm not fighting you, Bruce said. I'm accepting your energy and redirecting it. In martial arts, we call this principle Wu Wei, effortless action. You're trying to impose your will on me. I'm simply not being where you expect me to be. Now, let me ask you a question. How do you think George Foreman fights? He's a brawler, Ali said. Pure power. He walks forward and throws bombs until his opponent goes down. Exactly, Bruce said. So why would you stand in front of him and try to outpower him? That's fighting force with force. You'll lose. But what if you didn't stand in front of him at all? What if you made him miss, made him tired, made him frustrated, and then struck when he was exhausted? That's what I've always done, Ali protested. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. No, Bruce corrected. You've been moving backwards, side to side, staying at distance. That works against normal fighters. But Foreman is too strong. Eventually, he'll corner you, and one punch will end it. What I'm talking about is different. I'm talking about accepting his power, letting him use all his energy while you use almost none, and then taking advantage when he's exhausted himself. For the next hour, Bruce Lee taught Muhammad Ali concepts that seemed to come from a completely different world than boxing. He taught him about economy of motion, about minimal effective movement, about psychological warfare through apparent passivity. He showed Ali how fighters from Chinese martial arts would face stronger opponents by sticking to them, staying so close that power punches became impossible. In Wing Chun, we have a concept called Lat Sao Jik Chung. When a hand is freed, it strikes directly. You stay so close to your opponent that they can't generate power, and the moment they create distance to throw a power punch, you're already hitting them. That's crazy, Ali said. Nobody fights like that in boxing. Exactly, Bruce smiled, which is why it will work. Foreman has never faced a fighter who will purposefully stay close to him, who will lean on him, make him carry your weight, exhaust him. Everyone runs from Foreman's power. What if you did the opposite? They worked until 6 a.m. Bruce showed Ali positions on the ropes, showed him how to lean without taking damage, how to make an opponent expend maximum energy for minimum result. He showed Ali the difference between passive defense and active defense. When you're on the ropes, Bruce explained, most fighters just cover up and hope to survive. That's passive. Active defense means you're controlling your opponent even while appearing to be in trouble. You're draining his energy, frustrating him, setting traps. The ropes aren't your prison. They're your weapon. As the sun began to rise through the gym windows, they sat on the ring apron, both exhausted. I need to ask you something, Ali said quietly. Why are you teaching me this? Why do you care if I beat Foreman or not? Bruce Lee looked at him for a long moment before answering. Because you and I, we're the same in ways most people don't understand. We're both fighting against people who want to put us in boxes. They want you to just be an athlete. They want me to just be an action star. But we're both artists, Muhammad. We're both trying to show the world that fighting is about more than just violence. It's about strategy, philosophy, the perfection of technique. If you lose to Foreman, everyone will say the old way was better, that your style of boxing was just flash. But if you win, especially if you win using these principles I've shown you, you prove that intelligence beats force. That adaptation beats power. That's bigger than boxing. That's a lesson the whole world needs to learn. But what if it doesn't work? Ollie asked, what if I try this and Foreman knocks me out anyway? Then you'll have lost trying something revolutionary rather than losing doing what everyone expected, Bruce said. But it will work, Muhammad. I know it will because you're the only fighter in the world with the intelligence and courage to actually do it. George Foreman has demolished every fighter he's faced. They all fought him the same way, and they all lost. You're going to show him something he's never seen before, and it's going to break him. They stood up and shook hands. As they were about to leave, Bruce handed Ollie the videotape from the camera. Study this. Watch how minimal movement can defeat maximum power. Watch how accepting force is sometimes stronger than resisting it. And remember, when you're on those ropes in Kinshasa, when everyone thinks you're in trouble, when the commentators are saying you're getting beaten up, remember that you're the one in control. You're the water, and he's the stone. Water always wins in the end. Muhammad Ali left that gym in Los Angeles with a new understanding of fighting that would have seemed insane to every boxing trainer in the world. Angelo Dundee was skeptical. Champ, that Bruce Lee stuff was impressive, but this is boxing. You can't just make up new strategies against George Foreman. He's too dangerous. But Ali had seen something in those pre-dawn hours that he couldn't unsee. He'd felt how Bruce Lee's principles could work. Over the next year, as he prepared for the Foreman fight, Ali adapted what Bruce had taught him to boxing. He practiced leaning on the ropes, practiced minimal head movement that wasted no energy, practiced the psychological game of appearing to be in trouble while actually being in complete control. October 30th, 1974. Kinshasa, Zaire. The Rumble in the Jungle. Muhammad Ali versus George Foreman for the heavyweight championship of the world. Foreman was a 4-1 favorite. Many experts were predicting Ali might be seriously hurt or even killed in the ring. Foreman had destroyed Joe Frazier in 2 rounds, demolished Ken Norton in 2 rounds. These were fighters who had beaten Ali. The logic was simple. If Foreman destroyed them that easily, what would he do to Ali? The fight began, and Ali immediately did something that shocked everyone watching. Instead of dancing and moving as expected, Ali went to the ropes. He let Foreman come to him. He leaned back, covered up, and let Foreman punch himself into exhaustion. The commentators called it the rope-a-dope, not realizing they were watching ancient martial arts philosophy being applied in a boxing ring. For 7 rounds, Ali absorbed Foreman's power, but he was doing exactly what Bruce Lee had taught him. He was making minimal movements that made Foreman's punches land on his arms and gloves rather than his head. He was leaning on Foreman, making the bigger man carry his weight. He was talking to Foreman, psychological warfare, making the champion frustrated and angry, causing him to punch even harder and waste even more energy. That all you got, George? Show me something. Come on, show me something. By the 8th round, George Foreman was exhausted. He'd thrown hundreds of power punches and had nothing to show for it. His arms felt like lead. His legs were wobbling. And Muhammad Ali, who everyone thought was being beaten up on the ropes, suddenly exploded with a combination that dropped Foreman to the canvas. The referee counted to 10. Muhammad Ali was once again the heavyweight champion of the world. He had done what everyone said was impossible. He'd beaten George Foreman not by outpunching him, but by outsmarting him, by using principles of economy, acceptance, and redirection that came from Bruce Lee's martial arts philosophy. After the fight, a reporter asked Ali about his unusual strategy. Ali smiled and said, "I practiced being hit. I had plans. Everyone thought I was crazy, but I had plans." He didn't mention Bruce Lee. That secret remained between them. Bruce Lee had died suddenly on July 20th, 1973, just weeks after their secret training session. He never got to see Ali beat Foreman. He never got to see his principles proven in the biggest boxing match in history. But in the days after Bruce's death, Muhammad Ali received a package. Inside was a note in Bruce's handwriting. Muhammad, by the time you read this, I'll likely be gone. My body has been giving me warnings I can't ignore. But I want you to know that our session wasn't about me teaching you. It was about showing you what you already knew but hadn't accessed yet. You've always been more than a boxer. You've always been a philosopher warrior. Don't let anyone reduce you to just a fighter. You're an artist, and your art has the power to change how people think about strength, intelligence, and courage. Beat Foreman not just for yourself, but to prove that the human mind is the greatest weapon we have. Be like water, my friend. Bruce. Ali kept that note for the rest of his life. In interviews decades later, when asked about his greatest influences, Ali would sometimes mention a martial artist in Los Angeles who taught him important lessons, but he never elaborated. The full story remained private. In the 1990s, when Ali's Parkinson's disease had progressed significantly, Linda Lee Cadwell, Bruce Lee's widow, visited him at his home in Michigan. She brought with her something that Ali thought had been lost forever, a second copy of the videotape from that night in the gym. Bruce had made a backup and kept it in his personal archives. They watched it together, Ali in his wheelchair, barely able to speak, but his eyes bright with recognition and memory. On the screen, a young Bruce Lee moved like liquid around a young Muhammad Ali's punches. You could hear their voices, Bruce explaining philosophy, Ali asking questions, both men completely engaged in the pursuit of understanding. When the tape ended, Linda said, "Bruce told me about that night. He said it was one of the most important moments of his life. He said he finally found someone who understood what he was trying to teach. Not just the techniques, but the philosophy behind them." Ali's hand trembled as he pointed to the screen, then to his heart. His wife Lonnie translated. He says Bruce gave him the key to beating Foreman. But more than that, Bruce showed him that fighting was about intelligence, not just physical power. That lesson stayed with him his whole life. Today, boxing historians debate the rope-a-dope strategy. Some call it genius, others call it lucky. But those who know the full story understand that what Muhammad Ali did in Kinshasa wasn't luck. It was the practical application of philosophy that crossed cultural and stylistic boundaries. It was a heavyweight boxer using principles from Wing Chun and Taoist philosophy to defeat a seemingly unbeatable opponent. The secret training session between Muhammad Ali and Bruce Lee lasted only one night, but its impact echoed through sports history. It proved that true martial arts aren't limited by style or weight class. It proved that intelligence and adaptation can defeat raw power. And it proved that when two masters from different worlds share knowledge openly, without ego, without competition, something revolutionary can emerge. If this story moved you, remember that greatness isn't about staying in your lane. It's about learning from everyone, even people in completely different disciplines. Muhammad Ali was willing to learn from a 135-pound martial artist. Bruce Lee was willing to share his deepest knowledge with a boxer. Neither man saw the other as a threat. They saw each other as fellow artists in the pursuit of perfection. That's the real lesson of that night in Los Angeles. Not the techniques, not the strategy, but the humility to learn and the generosity to teach. Muhammad Ali changed boxing history because he was willing to learn from someone the boxing world would have dismissed. And Bruce Lee's philosophy lived on the ring because he was willing to share it with someone who could apply it in a way he never could. Be like water, my friend. Sometimes the greatest victories come not from what you know, but from what you're willing to learn.